senior official Paul Turner holding up that AEW World Championship. It is go big or go home for Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega takes a crack at the man who has carried all elite wrestling through this pandemic era, Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley winning the AEW World title by defeating Chris Jericho back at Revolution. Ever since, nobody has been able to overcome Jon Moxley. Kenny Omega, a world-traveled superstar, the best bout machine. Omega's been a man of many things. He is known by many as the greatest wrestler to walk this earth today. Jon Moxley could very well be the man to shut Kenny Omega down. Jon Moxley looking for an early sleeper to put away Kenny Omega quickly. Kenny Omega realized, I got to go fight or flight right now. Kenny Omega went right for the ropes, forcing a rope break. This is a big-time title match. Paul Turner is on his A game as senior official. These two tie up, collar and elbow. Kenny Omega wrestling Moxley to the mat. One of the big things when it comes to Kenny Omega's strategy, it's ground and pound, but it's pacing and doing it quickly. You can't, if I move fast enough, then you can't catch me. That's what Kenny Omega likes to do. And then it comes to high impact moves. For Jon Moxley, he's your classic street fighter. He's ready to go at all times. Moxley has got a little bit more height and a little bit more weight on him than Kenny Omega. And when I mentioned Kenny Omega's speed, it's the perfect counter to someone that is, in some ways, more powerful than you. Somebody who is slightly bigger than you. That being Jon Moxley in this situation. That has been the biggest benefit to Jon Moxley throughout his reign as champion. Moxley quick to take down Kenny Omega. I have seen some of the all-time classics over the years. Kenny Omega, time and time again, has proven he can put himself right back up at the top. Kenny Omega finds himself in this opportunity to be AEW World Champion. Kenny Omega wasn't the type of person to be All Elite Wrestling vice president and immediately put himself in contention for the World Championship. That's not the type of man that Kenny Omega is. Kenny Omega earned the right to challenge Jon Moxley. Kenny Omega put his heart out to get to this point. Kenny Omega is going to do this, and he's going to do it the right way. Things might get down and dirty when it comes to Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is not afraid to get a little dirty when it comes to getting in the ring. Kenny Omega just snaps Moxley on his head. That's how quick Kenny Omega can be. Catches Moxley off his equilibrium. Omega getting fired up. Could be taking flight, but Moxley's quick to get back in the ring. And a black hole slam lays out Omega in the center of the ring. Talk about an immediate stop to any kind of momentum as Omega gets turned inside out by that wicked clothesline by Moxley on the apron. It's just so quick by Jon Moxley. He stays on the ball. He finds the opening and capitalizes on it. It's that simple for Jon Moxley's strategy. We're coming up on merely a year as AEW World Champion for Jon Moxley, who gets driven hard into the guardrail by Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega now finds himself with an opportunity to capitalize. Omega showing that his body is experiencing pain from what he's already witnessed at the hands of Jon Moxley during this match. Let's not forget about that unsanctioned match at Full Gear last year. A match that brought all kinds of hell. Moxley was looking to pick up Omega. Omega gets countered. Moxley snaps suplex to Kenny Omega on the floor. Nice counter by Jon Moxley, getting a suplex that targets the lower back, especially when you're out on the outside on the floor. Moxley showing that he's a great champion, not wanting this to end by countout. Moxley wants this to end fair and square. No ifs, no buts, no whats, no questions asked. He's going to leave it all in the ring. Jon Moxley again. Jon Moxley, the referee, needs to get this thing in the ring. Moxley went in the ring to force the break of the cover, or break of the count, should I say. Now we are far away from the ring and in dangerous territory. There is nothing to protect these two, and you're not going to miss a minute of it. As this match continues to roll on, Omega and Moxley dishing out the worst to each other. Right now, it's Moxley who is sending Kenny Omega in retreat. Omega fires back with an emphatic chop, but a knife edge chop. Trades. Moxley, the difference maker, with a boot, then driving Omega into those empty seats. Omega and Moxley giving the fans a show. Moxley has been a man of the people for so long. From the night that Moxley won the AEW World Championship, the fans have been behind Moxley time and time again. There's something that just seems so different about tonight. Omega is a challenge like no other. Omega having the all-time classics in New Japan Pro Wrestling against the likes of none other than Kazuchika Okada, his fellow AEW Vice President, Cody. Omega's had the best of the best matches. That's on Kenny Omega. That's how talented. They say it takes two to tango. But when it takes two to tango and it involves Kenny Omega, you know it's going to be a classic, as Moxley sends Omega hard in to the post. Paul Turner's doing the best he can to keep this thing as fair and making sure everything as smooth as possible. Moxley going right back to the outside onto the floor. Moxley is smart. He wants to spend as much time on the floor inflicting as much damage as he can to Kenny Omega. When you have a fast pace like Kenny Omega, your style does break your body over time. Omega has admitted on a few occasions about what his body has done, what his body is experiencing. However, it's Omega who's quick to counter, and a dragon screw to the leg on the rope. It is all about the AEW World Championship. It's Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega Omega just driving Moxley into the knee first, into the guardrail. This is brilliant on the Best Bout machine to put away Jon Moxley. Moxley has always been filled with unscripted violence. No ifs, no buts, no whats. By any means necessary. Omega trying to play just as sneaky, just as sly as the AEW World Champion as he snaps over, driving Moxley into the mat. Moxley gripping onto that left leg that is experiencing quite the damage. Omega gets bursts of explosions that result in offense that is so powerful that using it in bursts is extremely effective. It's like go slow, then fast. We're going to go back to slow, then we're going to go back up. That's what works well for Kenny Omega. It's about knowing when to put your foot on the gas and accelerate. And that's not to say that Kenny Omega isn't well conditioned to go the distance. There isn't a man in this sport that is as conditioned as Kenny Omega. Omega heads to the ropes for extra momentum. All the pressure is put on that knee of Jon Moxley. Things could go from bad to worse for Moxley if things continue to play out for Kenny Omega. Measuring up Moxley, but Moxley explodes out of the corner and nails through Kenny Omega. A lot has been taken out of Jon Moxley in the process. Moxley trying to kick out the pain in his knee. There's a lot of pain shooting in the knee. Moxley trying to fight through it. Shake it off. There's only so much you can do when it comes to shaking off pain as Kenny Omega rolls Moxley through. Trying to go to work on the leg. Has the torque on the leg. This puts a lot of torque on the hamstring, the way that Moxley's being pulled. Now Omega's got it. Moxley is quick to find the bottom rope, forcing the rope break. Moxley knew deep trouble. Moxley's not a man you see tap out. Moxley had to find that way, and he did. It's Omega who's putting on the gas on the offense right now. The number one contender, Kenny Omega, is giving Jon Moxley the fight that he's been looking for. Jon Moxley has been looking for someone to meet his standards as a challenger. Moxley up on the shoulders of Omega. Forward, Kenny Omega was thinking that senton. Moxley sent Omega in the ropes, and a German suplex lays out Kenny Omega. Omega now worse for wear as Moxley returns for another German suplex to Kenny Omega. Jon Moxley once again is able to keep his finger on the pulse on where that opening is when it comes to taking control and finding himself in the driver's seat of this match. Jon Moxley thinking another German suplex. Omega has other ideas as he fights back. Moxley tried to reposition, perhaps an exploder suplex. Omega still fighting back no matter how much. Pump handle suplex. Just dumping Omega as he hooks the close leg. And it is not enough to keep Omega down for the 3. Omega still sticking with it. Jon Moxley proving to be battle tested with his knee experiencing the most in this matchup. Trying to shake it out. Ready to go for A breakaway suplex quick to sweep the legs back for a pinfall, but not enough to put away Kenny Omega. You're not going to miss a minute of it in picture. This match continues. There was no way we were going to let you miss any bit of the action when it comes to the AEW World Championship between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. The most anticipated match here in All Elite Wrestling since the creation of All Elite Wrestling. Let's put it that way. This has been highly anticipated. Two of the best. Moxley has helped carry AEW since winning the title. Omega, one of AEW's VPs and one of the first signings for All Elite Wrestling. Moxley looking to put away Omega with an STF. Moxley trying to put away Omega, turns it around into a crossface now that the arm is captured, pulls the neck back, pulling on the face. This puts a lot of torque on that lower back as well. Not good for Omega. Turns it into a pinfall. Moxley into a crucifix. Moxley is quick to capitalize for a submission hold, knowing that Kenny Omega could be gassed right now. With Omega on the ropes, nothing to do but force the break. Moxley. Oh, I thought Moxley was looking to end it there. It seemed he had the double underhook. He's got Omega caught up in the ropes. Comes in, weight forward on the Thunder's chops to the chest. Again, Moxley offers another knife edge chop to Kenny Omega. Omega fights back. I don't think Moxley liked that, as that next chop was harder than the last. Moxley got sent to the floor as Omega sidestepped. Kenny Omega. It didn't work out earlier this time. Omega soars and Omega scores. Up and over, Tope con hilo lays out the champion on the outside on the floor. Let's get another look at this. Up and over. Omega looking to take it home. All the glory. Omega's on a gold rush. Winter is coming. Will the AEW Championship be coming home with Jon Moxley, who got the paradigm shift? Omega went off the top rope. Moxley caught Omega, turned into a paradigm shift. Moxley, you could end it right here. What else could you possibly do? Moxley wants to end Kenny Omega once and for all. Moxley's introducing two steel chairs. That's not even legal. What are we doing here? Moxley blaming Omega for that assault backstage. Moxley could very well win this way. If he does get disqualified, at least he'll retain the title. I think this is some sort of intervention. We're supposed to have a match. This is not time. We're on a time cue as I look at my watch. This is not... I mean, this will go. This will end when it's going to end. But come on. The clock is ticking. This is not time for an intervention. Kenny Omega's just not having it as he slaps Jon Moxley. These two slapping the taste buds out of each other's mouths. Who is going to get the better of the exchange as they turn from slaps to jabs back and forth as they're still both sitting down in the chairs? It's like Rock'em Sock'em, but with real people. Omega V Trigger. Moxley got caught off his rocker. Snapdragon suplex to follow up, and Omega says it's done. It's ready to call it good night. Another Snapdragon suplex. The best bout machine is going into a new gear. Moxley sidesteps and a German suplex to Omega. Omega still on his feet as he kicks Moxley, and another V trigger. And a lariat that turns Omega inside out, but Moxley goes down too. Can Moxley get there to take advantage? Upside down, back and forth, trades blow for blow. It's all happening right now here on TNT. You don't get action like this anywhere else. Moxley's calling for the final blow. Paradigm shift right on the top of the skull of Kenny Omega. That's your good night wish. Have a sleep, but Omega stays alive. I honestly couldn't tell you how Kenny Omega found the willpower to kick out. Kenny Omega wisely, I don't know if he knows what he's doing. However, it's the instincts of Kenny Omega kicking in to roll to the outside on the floor as Moxley went for a tope suicida, but Omega got the knee up for a V trigger. All the speed, the velocity of Moxley going towards Omega. Omega got the knee up right into the skull of Moxley. Moxley, let's get another look at that again. The impact on that knee right to the head of Moxley. It's like getting a rock thrown at you as you're running towards it. Up at the top, and a missile drop kick to Jon Moxley. Catching Moxley on the shoulder. Moxley is laid out in the corner. V trigger finds its mark on the back of Moxley. Omega double underhook. Tiger Driver 98. That's got to do it. If that's not it, I don't know what is. I have no idea where Moxley is finding this. Kenny Omega is hitting Moxley with everything. Moxley refuses to be defeated here in All Elite Wrestling. What a shot. Omega's digging deep into the bag of tricks. He's hitting it all. It's all on target, too. And Moxley just wants more, but this last one, Moxley catches the boot of Omega. Moxley heads to the ropes, but another V trigger. It could be time to say goodnight. No, but it kicks out of the one-winged angel, but Moxley counters. Moxley was thinking paradigm shift. Now it's Kenny Omega who counters. Moxley almost had the bulldog. And a nice drop kick right in the middle of the ring to Jon Moxley. That'll be a shift changer. Omega basking in the glory right now, as Omega could be a matter of moments, pulling out all the stops. Ripcord V trigger. Good night. Goodbye and good night. Omega tried, but Moxley continued to fight. Drop down into a German, rolls through, stacking up, and Moxley stays alive. This match is just full of all kinds of thrills and chills. It's any man's game. I've never seen Moxley at this point where his AEW World Championship has truly been at stake, but I would expect nothing less from the best bout machine, Kenny Omega. Omega at the top. Omega jumped to the floor, realizing he was going to be pushed to the floor if he didn't jump himself. Still ate an elbow from Jon Moxley. Moxley sweeping the legs as Omega hits face first onto the apron. Moxley, paradigm shift. Into the heaters. That's got to be good night for Kenny Omega. I keep saying good night. Nobody's gone to sleep yet. Paul Turner's calling for doctors. Doc Samson. Oh, that's not. That's one of our doctors coming over to. When Kenny came down, not only did he hit the heater, but on the landing, he hit the concrete. That's head first. That's a paradigm shift. Head first. Don Callis is going down to check on Kenny Omega. Legitimately concerned for this young man's life. For this. Don Callis has been family to Kenny Omega. Jon Moxley doesn't have time for these games. If you're not going to stop the match, then get out of my way as Moxley pulls the officials out. This is going to end one way or another. And Moxley gets Omega back in the ring. If I were the referee, if I'm Paul Turner, I would consider stopping this at any point. And Don Callis trying to tell Paul Turner that he's hurt. Had the microphone and it dropped. Kenny Omega. Look at this. Kenny Omega has the microphone. What is it? He's not going to. There's no way. Right between the eyes. Snaked out Moxley this entire time. By any means necessary. Was Kenny Omega willing to go? It didn't have to be this way. You could have done it the right way. You could have gone down the Warrior's path. But now you have blood on your hands. And that blood belongs to your sins. That blood belongs to the drawn blood of Jon Moxley. And another V-trigger. Another V-trigger. Moxley wasn't going to go down easy. Kenny Omega and Don Callis knew that better than anybody else. There was always plan B. If Don Callis was plan B, the microphone was plan C. With 4 consecutive V-triggers, Jon Moxley having to use the ropes for help with all the damage his body's experienced. This is good night. Finally, good night. One winged angel and nobody gets out of it. Kenny Omega is All Elite Wrestling World Champion. And Don Callis just ripping the title. Don Callis is quick to celebrate with Kenny Omega. The plan was this all along. 2020 singles record for Kenny Omega continues to thrive 8-0. And the brand new All Elite Wrestling World Champion.